Hi, welcome back to ODE YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do another of those very long videos. This time the pens for September 2020 and this will take some time. So if you don't want to see this video, I understand. There are many more videos on the channel you can watch. Also, if you like the content that I usually post, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Today we are seeing 27 pens that have ink inside. Last month there were 31, so four pens are out of the list, and more than those got out of the list and some got in, so this is like a dynamic thing. I will try to leave links for places where you can purchase the pens. Some of the links will be affiliate links, so if in some of those links, if you use them, I may get some commission of it. Some of them there will not be that commission. It's up to you. You can also see the if I already made a review of a particular pen that I'm going to show you today, I will put the link for that review on the description, so you can go to the long review or to know more details, or you can get information where you can buy that particular pen. And so let's not waste more than these 2 minutes talking about pens in general. Let's see the pens that I have inked for September. And we will start with this one. This is a pen that I showed you. I bought in new condition recently. This is a new old stock, and this is, I have to show it this way, this is a Harley Davidson pen. And so the first one will be this Harley Davidson with a medium nib that is more on the fine side, I would say. This one is made by Stipen, a French brand that no longer exists. It was bought by Bic at some point and now it ceased to exist. And it has inside a cartridge of Visconti turquoise. This pen is not very big, but it has a very nice and classy look to it, except for those bright silicone bands. Otherwise, it is an interesting pen, and it is a pen that I think I always wanted to have. Let me put here the information. It is a medium nib, and I really enjoy writing with this pen. I think it's a nice pen, and I'm quite happy to get it now. I wish I had one of those pens when I was a teenager, but okay, I hope it's not too late now to have such a nice pen. The next pen I have here to show is a pen that is always inked, and it is always with me inside a Maxpedition micro pocket pouch. I think that's how it's called, inside my backpack. I have a few stuff there, and I always have this small copper Lilliput, which is all Kaweco Lilliput, which is very tarnished now with patina. So this pen needs to be posted to write with because it's very small. And this is the Kaweco Lilliput copper. And this one has a fine nib, and inside it has that kind of mix that I make sometimes of several inks, and don't ask me exactly what is the composition of this. So it is, I would say, almost black. It is an ugly mixture of inks, but sometimes I have to just not to let a little bit of ink go to waste. I mix them together and put inside the pens that I use every time because they are the good way to use them. And the next one is this. This is, you already know this, I was very excited to get this done. This is the Kaweco Sport, and this is the collector's edition, the one that was made for the Facebook group, and this is the Kaweco. Oops, I'm writing in almost in a side way, and it's not very nice to write. Let me just adjust the paper. Okay, now I'm at a better angle now, and so this is the Kaweco Sport Collector's Edition. The color is live coral, and it has a fine nib. The ink it has is the diamine Inkvent Calendar Solstice. This is a gorgeous ink in a grayish, bluish kind of thing, but I really like. I think it's the only ink that is more on the grayish, greenish side that I like. Now, we go to another pen that is always with me. Not that much while working from home, but when I go out, I always put this one on my jeans pocket. If I'm at home, maybe I will not use it that much, but this is the pen that is also always with me when I'm out of home. And this is the Kaweco AL Sport Stonewashed Blue with a fine nib, and you can see that this nib is quite broader than the other fine nib that I showed you there, but I guess I use this pen so much, and maybe I even forced it a little over the time. I think there is some give to this nib, and now the line is a little bit broader. Maybe that, or maybe just the variation, because this is an older Kaweco nib, maybe something changed. I'm not completely sure of that. And it has a very classic ink, Parker Quink Black. And this is the kind of ink that I like. Very simple. It's not a very wet ink, but it is good to use on pens, nice to clean, so I like it. You already know the nibs from Kaweco. This one has this stone-washed, used look that I really find very interesting. I don't think I would like that if it was a pen that I have and that I had used it so much that it got into that state, but because we buy them in that condition, it's kind of fun. It takes out of you the responsibility of, and now I'm using this pen, and if I scratch it or no, don't care about it. You get that pen. If you buy that pen, just put it in your pocket and use it all the time. You don't have to worry about the little details on finishing, and I like that characteristic. And now we go to the last Kaweco of this series, and this is the Kaweco Supra, made of steel. It is a very nice pen, around the same size of the Kaweco Lilliput. It has to be posted to write with. It's not that easy all the time to post the pen. This pen comes with an extra part for the barrel that I showed you on the review that makes the pen a full-sized pen, but this way it is in the short position. I took that part out, so you need to post the pen to write with it and to have it in a full size. This way it is a full-sized pen. It has a nice number 6 nib, which is something that I enjoy in a pocket pen. And so this is the Kaweco Supra. Today my calligraphy is awful. So Kaweco Supra steel, and this one has a fine nib, and this nib is much more soft than the number 6 nib by Kaweco. And this one has the Pelican Edelstein Aquamarine. I think this is a kind of color that goes very well with steel pens. I like it. This nib is quite wet, good, and this is really, really an interesting pen that I think it's quite solid to carry every day. I'm not sure if I will, just for a change, if I will replace for some time the AL Sport for this one, just to give the AL Sport Stonewashed a little rest. Now we go to a plastic pen that I got in used condition from an American brand that then was produced in France, and I think this one is from the French production, and then it is being produced in India, and it's a Reynolds pen, very simple steel nib. So this is the Reynolds. I don't know anything about it, so I don't know the model. I would say this is a fine nib, and it has inside the Kaweco Summer Purple ink, and the nib on this pen is quite smooth. It's not very wet, but also the Kaweco inks are not very wet, so it's like kind of combination of the two, so you don't see a lot of smear. But I like the looks of the pen. Very, very simple, very inexpensive, and I'm quite happy with that. I don't have a review of that pen yet, so I have to do it. I think I have from all the others that I showed you till now. Now, another favorite of mine. This is an Etude 1911. I really like this pen, and I like this pen so much that it's dirty, the nib is... I don't care that much about keeping it looking great, because I really love this pen, and I use it all the time. This is the Etude 1911 Black Sands with a fine nib, but this is a fine nib that has a kind of line variation. It has the Waterman Violet inside. I like to use this pen. I'm not using this pen, you see, puts a lot of ink on paper. I'm not using this pen a lot the last few weeks, so it may have skipped there in the beginning, but it was just for this week. And this nib has some line variation, has some softness. This nib is wonderful. It looks like a vintage pen with a vintage nib. I really like it. Very wet, works wonderfully. It has all these details on the pen that I really enjoy. The nib has the N from Nettuno, dirty with ink, and there you even have a serial number. So this is quite a beautiful pen that I enjoy, and I'm showing this pen all the time in every video of this kind because I like it. There is also a review on the channel. That pen is Italian, and we jump to another Italian pen. This is the first thing that comes to my mind when I talk about this pen is black. It's deep black. The name of this pen is Tibaldi Perfecta Rich Black, and that's it, with a fine nib. The nib has a very, very good ink flow. It has an ebonite feed. It has the eagle there on the Tibaldi nib. It has a steel nib. No real line variation, but the pen writes really, really well, and it looks vintage. It looks so nice. I really enjoy this pen. You can also see the review that I made, and this one has inside an ink that I really like, the Montblanc Daniel Defoe. I've been using this pen with another ink, which was the Diamine Wagner, but I also like these ones. These are variations of the same kind of greens that I like. No line variation, but quite wet for a fine nibbed pen. Really, really, really nice. I got this pen for review, and you can check the review on the channel. The next pen, also from Italy, also from Tibaldi, but this one has not a review yet. And this is the Samarkand Blue. This is a pen that is quite interesting. I like Tibaldi. I think they are nicely made. However, it has some off-centering here. The Tibaldi is not completely centered with the clip, and it's not completely centered on the back of the made in Italy. Not completely centered, but I don't see any other problem. It's a good pen. It's a very large pen. You may see that. And I really like large pens. The nib is the same nib as the Tibaldi Perfecta. However, because this is for review, I asked for a medium nib. I don't like it as much. It is smoother than the... Not that one is scratchy, but has some feedback. This one is smoother, but I prefer the fine nib. But I chose a different one just to be able to show you here on the channel. So this is the Tibaldi. By the way, something that I tell all the time, the color of this one is called Blue Samarkand, and this is a color that I really like. And I like it because it is kind of a vintage color that has been used in the model, or at least by the brand before. And this is also an inspiration of in a vintage pen. So this is a Tibaldi N60 in Samarkand color. This one has a medium nib, as you may see. This one has kind of a soft spot where it writes better than, so you need to find that place on the nib. And it has the, let me see how to write this, Rohrer and Klingner Alt Gold Grün. And this is also one of those kind of greens that I like. And now let's move on to the Czech Republic with a pen that has been in use for a long time. And this is a beautiful dark pen made of ebonite, handmade with a fine Jowo nib. And this is the Penteo Bonita. Penteo Bonita, oversize black. It has a fine nib. I have a review on my channel. You can check the link below. You can also see a link to the store of the person that makes these pens and check what he's doing, because he's making these ebonite pens covered with amazing urushi and other Japanese techniques. Very nice. And this has the Mont Blanc Leo Tolstoy ink, which was like one of those limited special editions by Mont Blanc. It is quite a simple blue, nothing very amazing in my opinion, but there was a time where I bought every Mont Blanc ink that was released because I liked them, but at some point I started to see that I had too many inks. I didn't need all those inks, and what we spend in Mont Blanc inks, although they are nice and well behaved, it will allow you to, in a medium term, to buy more pens. So I prefer to buy pens than inks, but it's hard when I go through a Mont Blanc store. I always think of buying their inks. This is a beautiful pen that I have. I bought it second-hand. The wood is quite old and has a little crack somewhere, but it is a beautiful pen. Check it. So this pen comes from Germany, and it is the Graf von Faber-Castell Classic Ebony with the fine nib, and it has the Graf von Faber-Castell hazelnut brown ink inside. It is a reddish brown, and the nib is very good with some line variation, wet and very good pen. And the nice thing of this one is that this silver plated thing has no plating over it, no protection, so it gets all oxidized, which is wonderful. I like it a lot. The next pen that I will show you is another pen from Graf von Faber-Castell, and this is the Intuition. I like this model a lot. This was one of my grail pens ever. I got it and I'm very happy with it. So this is the Graf von Faber-Castell Intuition, and the color is Terra. This one also has a fine nib, and the ink is Graf von Faber-Castell Violet Blue, which is really more a violet than a blue. The ink is amazing, with also some line variation and very wet. I think the nib is very similar in the way it works with the other one that I showed you, but it has a different design. So this is the top of the pen, the bottom of the pen, and this is the nib. So the nib has the family's crest and the other one has the brand logo. So a little difference, let me show you. It is the same nib overall, but the marking on the nib is different. But two beautiful pens. I have to say that I bought the Classic because I could get it, not very expensive, and I liked the look, but this was really my favorite. I think it has some common details with that. Some parts of the shape of the cap, it reminds me of that pen, but one thing that I like a lot is that the pen has no section. It's not a short section. The pen has no section. It's like the barrel and the nib, and I like it a lot. I think it's very beautiful, very well balanced. However, I wish it had a number 6 nib instead of a number 5, but it is a gold nib that behaves really well, as I showed you. And now let's move on into something very different from these German pens. Let's go to Parker. Parker is harder to tell where they come from because they can be American or from the UK or from France. So it depends, but I don't care about that. Let me talk about them as Parker. And this is a brand that I really like. I have a couple of pens here that you already saw. This is the Parker 25, the very strange one, the ugly one. I used to hate this pen when I was growing up, and lots of people had them, but I have to say that design is really well made, really amazing, and this is a review that I have to make soon. I didn't do it yet. So this is the Parker 25. This is the blue version. Okay, it is made of steel, but this is blue and blue and blue. There are variations with other colors. And this one has a medium nib. I keep forgetting about that. And it has an ink mix again. And why did I put an ink mix there? Because this pen works so well that it's so well behaved it can take care of a strange ink mix. The pen doesn't care about that. She just wants to write, so it's amazing. It writes well. Wet enough, not extremely wet, and it is a very good working pen. Steel nib, steel barrel, cartridge converter, very simple, very inexpensive when it was made, and now people are, I think it's it's getting trendy to have a Parker 25 in their collection. And now, this is one of the most amazing pens ever, in my opinion. Also, this is very strange. One of my favorite brands, which is Parker, one of my favorite models by Parker is not yet reviewed. This is the Parker 45. I really like this pen. Really, really like. The Parker 45, and this is the Flighter version with an F nib, and it has, let me check the ink, the Pelican Smoky Quartz. I like this ink a lot. This nib is more on the dry side, but it works amazingly. Very small, semi-hooded nib, fine, made of steel. This pen has a characteristic that is not good for everybody, is that it has their nibs usually have a very narrow sweet spot. So they write wonderfully, very well, very smooth in just one place. If you rotate it just slightly, it starts scratching or not writing at all. So it happened to me in several fine nibs from Parker 45s, not only this one. So I think it's not a defect, it is kind of a part of the character of that pen. And sometimes I think, yes, the pens should suit your kind of writing, but maybe you can adjust also your preferences to the character of the pen. If that pen is like this, maybe that's not the best pen for you. And I really believe that. I don't think all the pens should be perfect for you. You should be able to choose the right pen for your kind of characteristics. For example, you will not buy a very inexpensive car to go racing with cars. You have to choose what the brands and the kind of cars that you are using, and if it suits your needs. Sometimes some pens don't suit our needs, so I'm not sure if we should criticize and say, no, this nib is not good. No, that is the kind of nib it has, and if it's not for me, maybe I am the one who has to stay away. However, you can also try to smooth the nib and modify it. There's nothing wrong about that. I just don't think we should criticize the brand for not having that kind of nib. But okay, just rambling about this. Next pen is the Parker 51 that I got from my grandfather. You see, lots of problems there. I don't care. It was very used and a little bit destroyed. I have this one because I want to make a video. I don't know if you are interested in that, but I thought about doing that. A video on the... First I have to review a Parker 41. Sorry, a Parker 51. It is a classic pen, and I think it should be reviewed, and I don't know why I didn't review it yet. I have to make that review, but I also thought about making a video with my thoughts on the new release of the new Parker 51 it was scheduled for 2020, but it will be released in 2021. And I think it might be just my thoughts, just thinking out loud, because there are lots of people talking about it, and I think I have a video where I will talk about the pen, but integrating the 2021 edition in the Parker 51 history and character. Maybe. If you think it's interesting, please let me know. So this pen, you already all know this pen. It is very well known. One of the most famous pens ever. And this is the Parker. Also, this pen was more from my grandfather's. The nib is not well adjusted because I think he rotated it a little bit when he wrote. So it's not the best pen for me to write. It almost always skips on at first, but it's my fault, or it's the pen's fault, because the pen got used to someone else writing with a very strong writing. So now I have to deal with this. It's a Parker 51 black with the costume cap. I would say this is a fine nib, and it has the Parker Quink black. And I think this pen has that kind of, it's not a pen that glides over the paper. It's something that I found on my Parker 51s. They write well, they are wet enough, but they are not pens that glide through the paper wonderfully. Like maybe I had that experience here with the Graf von Faber-Castell. They are kind of very special pens. So let me show you. I have mostly green and blackish inks today. I think not only today, usually. Now, another of my favorite pens by Parker, one of the pens that I paid the most for having it, and I really like it. This is the Parker Bluefold, the modern release of the big red that has this inscription like the vintage one. Let me try to focus there. US Parker Bluefold, and then it says Parker pen and fountain pen. The original didn't say that. There was no need. So this is the Parker Centennial Bluefold. Let's call it just big red. The name is bigger, classic, and so on, with a fine nib, gold nib also, and it has the Parker Quink red. This is an ink that I had a lot. This is a stiff nib, quite wet, quite good. I like it a lot, and besides, I also think this nib is beautiful. Now, let's move on to from Parker to two Italian pens. So, we are getting now into the Leonardo Italiana pens. This month I only have two of their pens with ink. I usually have all of them. This month only two. Maybe I will link some more because I have to make some videos. But it's not bad that the pens sometimes get out of rotation, get clean. And this is a beautiful pen with this beautiful color. I really like this. I like it a lot. And this is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande. Very beautiful, very big name. The color is dark Hawaii, and I'm writing all out of the dots, and it has inside the Leonardo Turquese, so it means turquoise. This is a wonderful nib. It writes really well, really wet, and I like the ink. And I don't really like blue inks, but I like this ink. I like the material. The pen is beautiful. This was sent to me by Salvatore from Leonardo, and it has the piston filler, but it's kind of a glued big sized converter there. And I like this pen. And he recently, I showed you the unboxing video, he recently sent me this, and this is the same version. This is another version of that one. This is the Leonardo Italiano Momento Zero Sand. This is the sand color, beautiful finish, but this one is the pistone, which means it has a real piston filler, a different one, which is not that, which means that the barrel will not unscrew, and you feel it just by turning this. You don't have to unscrew the barrel, so it's really like a classic piston type. The same kind of nib, the same kind of pen, but a different material that looks amazing. It looks brown, sandy, greenish. It depends on the color, depends on the lighting. This pen is wonderful. This was one of my grail pens that I wanted to have, and Salvatore sent it to me, so I'm very happy. And I have to remake the review of this one. I didn't do it yet. So this is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande Sand. And it was sent with the Leonardo ink, sepia, but I tried, and it's not that I didn't like the ink, but I thought that ink didn't go well with this pen. It was more on the brown, more on the reddish side, so I changed the ink for a more darker ink, but I will review the ink also. And this ink is the diamine Macassar. This is a wonderful ink that I like a lot. Beautiful dark brown. In my opinion, it gets very close to the vintage Parker Quink brown that I really liked some years ago. I think it's quite equivalent. And this ink I got from my friend from YouTube. He has a channel also, the Inky Nib. He made a few videos. He needs some more support to see if he makes more, because I like his style of doing things. So he got me this sample of this ink, and I have to say this ink is one of my favorite. And now, one of my favorite pens. I have a couple here. Maybe that the Tibaldi Perfecta, the Nettuno, the Graf von Faber-Castell Intuition, the Parker Bluefold Red, the Leonardo Sand, and also this pen, the Elite. Also the Parker 45. I cannot mention them all because there will be a lot. This has some dings. It is a Pilot Elite that is made of sterling silver. There. It has this cross-etched pattern, but it has some dings. It has this inlaid nib, a very big inlaid nib. And when I say it has a big nib, people don't believe me. But if I show you this nib next to the Leonardo number 6 nib, you'll see this is a big one. Different shaped, but a big one. And I love this ink, this pen. It is so well made in so many aspects that it's amazing. It had a filling system that went bad. I showed it to you, and oops, it's almost empty. I like to write a lot with this pen, and it takes a lot of ink, but it also puts down a lot of ink. Let me see if I can write with it for this writing sample. I wrote with it yesterday, and it still wrote, but it's almost empty. It is so well made in so many aspects that it's amazing. I was telling that it had a system that broke, and then I fixed into a new cartridge system that you can also check the video. I did not review the pen yet, but I will. And this is one of the most amazing pens I ever had. So, this is the Pilot Elite Sterling Silver. It's still writing with this very big gold, and let's call it like this. This is the manifold nib, stiff nib, they say, but you can get some line variation, which is interesting. And it has the Pilot Hiroshizuku Tsukushi. Beautiful dark brown ink, a little bit more on the reddish side. And I like these a lot. Let me just show you. You can get line variation out of this pen. And lots of ink on paper. So I really, really like this pen. This is an amazing pen for a writer. You can write a book with it. You can write a book with almost any pen, but I think you know what I mean. This is another Pilot, a modern one and much more inexpensive, and this is the Pilot MR. Pilot MR, which is similar to the Pilot Metropolitan. It is the same pen, except it has a different filling system. It has a Pelican 4001 Royal Blue. I didn't write there, this is a medium nib. Royal Blue ink cartridge inside, because it has Pelican cartridges, because Pelican cartridges are the international size, and this pen takes international cartridges, not pilot proprietary. So it is nice, gives you more options somehow. However, I prefer the pilot cartridges because they are big and you can close them and reseal them. However, now you can also reseal the international cartridges because you can get those brass stoppers from Gabriele Falcinelli, so you can make your specific ink cartridges. Lots of nice ink stuff and pen stuff today. I think the world today about pens is an amazing place. Let's not call it an amazing place about politics, health issues, environment and all those things, but if we forget those serious things, just let's focus on the pen world. The pen world is amazing nowadays. This pen is really wet. I'm not sure if it is supposed to be so much, or if this nib has been forced a little bit before I bought it. I bought it in second hand because this pen doesn't interest me that much. But who has a pen channel without a Pilot Metropolitan or the equivalent? So I had to get one. So I bought it used, very cheaply, very wet, pen writes well, so nice option. And let's go, we are reaching the end of the video. Some more pens to go, but this is a Schneider base, that's how it's called, with a B-nib, very big clip, very strange pen, but nice, like a school pen, very inexpensive, and it writes well. So this is the Schneider base with broad nib, and the ink it has inside is the GR Vert Pré, which is a very light green, like a highlighter green, and this pen writes well, no line variation, quite wet, so good enough. It's a good pen for highlighting things, not highlighting, underlining. Now, we go to China, and this wasn't screwed, I don't know why. This is the Jinhao Centennial. Yes, this is a copy of a Parker Bluefold, I know that, but I like real Parker Bluefold, and I have some of them, and I like this Jinhao Centennial. I have nothing to say. I really like them, and I have several of those. Also, this one has this very interesting koi finish, which is red and pearl white. It has a fude nib, which means it is bent upwards like that. And so this is the Jinhao Centennial, and it makes this kind of line. Or you can put it like this, and it will write finer with an ink mix. And if you write in the other way, it writes even finer. Okay, but if you do this, you'll have lots of ink and the finger will get all dirty. It's an interesting pen to, not for real use, but sometimes I have my notes for this video and I fix them to the wall in front of me, so sometimes it's good to have very big writing. This is like a big marker to write. And now we will go back from China to Italy, and these very famous and very sought after Visconti Homo sapiens. This one is the 23 karat palladium nib. Visconti Homo sapiens, Bronze Age, oversize, and it has the Parker Quink Black, one of those standards you know I like. This pen writes well, you can have some line variation, as you may see, and this is a very, very good pen. I have a review of it, so you can watch it also. And I have 4 more pens to go. I don't know if I can fit them here. And so we go from Italy, from the Visconti, to the United States. This is one of my recent additions. This is a Sean design made of copper, quite heavy, pocket pen that is so well turned. It is amazing, really amazing. If you put it like this, you just slide and this glides the threads over. It's great. It has a number 6 nib. It's quite comparable with the Kaweco Supra, in my opinion. And this is the Sean design pocket 6 made of copper. Very interesting pocket pen. Short one that gets full size when posted. It has a number 6 steel nib, which is good. This one is a fine Jowo nib, and it has the Sailor Gentle Okoyama, and this is an interesting ink that I like to put in copper pens because it writes well. There was a time where I wrote a lot with my Montegrappa Mule, and it always had this ink inside. I think this ink goes greatly with that. It has been discontinued now, so maybe when I finish this ink bottle, maybe I will not be able to get another one, but that's life. But diamine ancient copper is quite similar, and I have a bottle of that. Now this needs like the Imperial March from the Star Wars, although this is not a Star Wars product. This is the Pelican M100. The white and black version, and this is called the Stormtrooper because of the color scheme it has. It is not meant to be that way, but fans of Star Wars called it the Stormtrooper. This one has a broad nib and has a very good ink. This is the Schiffer Script Turquoise, and I just have to say that this black nib is so feedbacky. This is more blue, but because the finger is now very dirty, it gets all kinds of colors. But just to show you how wet it is, but it has so feedback. It is so feedbacky. It looks like a very dry pencil to write, not scratchy, but I think it's the pen with most feedback that I ever had. I don't have a review of that also, but there will be one soon. That's why the pen is inked now. And now we move from Germany to Japan, and we'll stay there for this one and the last pen, the next one. This is a platinum pocket pen. Don't ask me yet exactly what is the name of this model, because there are lots of them. I'm not sure if all of them have a specific name, but I'm trying to learn more on Japanese pocket pens. They are interesting because they have, the characteristic of them is that they have a cap that is much longer than the barrel. The section is also very big, almost as long as the cap, and when you put the big cap into the barrel, the cap goes all the way into the section, and then you have the long cap with the long section, making it a very long pen, although it is a pocket pen when it is closed. And so this is the platinum, let's call it pocket pen. This one has a fine nib. I think it has no writing about that, but I think it's a fine nib. And the ink it has is platinum blue. And as I think it is normal with platinum pens, it has some feedback. but writes well. And now let's go to the final pen. It writes well, but let me just say something. It is a little bit more on the dry side. I don't think also the platinum ink is the nicest ink to use, so it looks a little dry here. This is like the first time that I fill the pen. It's with the platinum blue because I needed to. It didn't come with a cartridge. I had to put the cartridge there. I have platinum cartridge here, so I use that one. But I think when the cartridge is over, I will try another ink because maybe I want to be fair in my impressions, and I may not be totally fair if I use that cartridge and don't try some other inks. And let's go to the last pen, also from Japan, which is this beautiful thing that I really like. This is a Sailor 1911, black with gold trim. Sailor 1911, large, so it has the 21 karat gold nib. And this one is a hard medium, which means it has no softness. I really like this. It has the platinum blue because I needed to make a comparison between two pens, so I inked this also with platinum blue. And this is another place where I believe that this ink is a little dry because the pen is not as pleasant to use as with other inks, although the inks are a drink for a pen. The pen has some feedback, but it has the Sailor feedback, and I really love this kind of feedback. I think it's kind of perfect. I enjoy a lot Sailor pens, so there may be a new Sailor pen coming into my collection soon. A little bit more expensive, maybe during this month of September. I'm not 100% sure, or maybe only in October. All the postal service are crazy. I hope it comes soon, and I hope I will be able to show it to you. But I will not tell more, but not hard to guess. And although this is a hard medium, you can have some line variation, but it's not meant to have line variation. It's meant to write well with feedback, and you see it's a little bit on the dry side. I know this pen is wetter because I've used it a lot with other inks. I love the nib of this one. So, as you saw, lots of pens, lots of inks from all around the world, from Chinese inexpensive pens or even European inexpensive pens to much more expensive pens for all around the world. Many different nibs, some different colors. This is what I have to start September. Some of the pens are getting empty with ink. Some will be refilled, some will not. Some will get out of rotation, and some others will come to replace them for the near future. We'll see which ones will be still used next month. When a pen gets out of use, it doesn't mean that I don't like it. I just don't want to have all my pens inked at one time. These 27 are already a lot, so when one gets out of ink, I always think, will I re-ink it? Sometimes I do, because I want to make a review, or I'm enjoying so much writing with it that I really do. Sometimes I have to choose, no, I'm not inking this one and I'm going to replace it for another one. I'm trying in the last few months to ink less pens than the ones that get empty, just to be sure that I can reduce the number of pens that I have with ink each month, because sometimes there is some evaporation, the ink gets thicker, the pens sometimes dry a little bit because some of them don't get used a lot for a long time. It's not fair for the pens and for the pleasure of writing, so I'm trying to reduce the number of pens. If next month I'm more on the 22 or 23 pens, I would be quite happier. So this is all I had to show you. I hope you liked the video. Check the links and stuff below. If you have any ideas, please, about some videos, let me know. If you want a specific review of any pen that you want me to make it faster, please tell me, and tell me what you think if I make that kind of my thoughts about the new Parker 51 release. I don't have the pen to show, but I have some thoughts about it. So, I hope you liked it. See you soon. Bye.